My question, and I don't know that you're going to be prepared to answer tonight, and I'm going to explain to you why you wouldn't have to if you think that you need some time to think, is those 16 kids that we have, I think would be ill-served by saying to them, well, we got the preschool allocation, you're just going to have to go to kindergarten. Because I went back and looked at birthdays, and of the 16 kids, 14 of them have late May, June, July, August, some into September. So they're by and large the younger kids of the whole kindergarten class. The other thing that I'd suggest is that the curriculum could and should be entirely different from them than it would be in a kindergarten classroom. I think that my suggestion to you, if you were to say to me, what do you think the district ought to do?
What do you think of this strategy?
Thank you. What I think the district should do is consider one pre-kindergarten teacher that teaches half day in one site and half day in the other site. Those kids were only expecting, and their parents were only expecting them to be half day kids anyway. That the curriculum look entirely different for them. I don't think it would make any sense to recommend 2 teachers to you when there are only 8 kids. You want a licensed teacher, we can't hire an associate. And here would be the decision that you'd be faced with if you decide to merge them and have a full-time teacher at one site is, so where would they go? And here's how I want to explain this to you. And I can't believe I'm even saying this to you, because in the beginning my only thought was all-day program, one teacher, merge the kids. But what I'm very fearful of is that those parents will make a choice to, if I live down in the southwest part of the district and preschool is here, I'm not ready yet. I never intended that my child was going to travel that far. I'll just open enroll my child somewhere else because I can do that until September 15th since they're kindergarten age. Or the same thing could happen at SAC, that we say the program's going to be in Wall Lake, and the parents say, you know what, I work in Storm Lake. I'll just open enroll my student to Storm Lake in a kindergarten program. And you know what open enrollment goes like. Once in a district, they stay in a district. They don't move around in open enrollment very much. So my recommendation would be that you think about a teacher, and certainly they're funded kids, so they're fully funded kids, but it's a teacher, AM in one district, PM in the other, so the teacher travels. It's truly a pre-kindergarten curriculum that's different than 4-year-old curriculum, but it's also not kindergarten.
What happens if we end up with a lot more kids in that particular
Age group?
Yeah.
Well, you still can have up to, I mean, you'd have to get a bunch more kids for one. Because one teacher can handle, what, 15?
That
I ought to be
age?
able to,
Yeah.
I ought to be able to handle just 15.
12 to 15.
Well, in Wall Lake right now, we're going to have 20 in one and 19 in the other section with no associates. And we know those teachers can handle that. SAC just happens to be a smaller group of kids, so there'll just be 13 in each section. There is an associate, so that you know, in kindergarten and SAC, and that's because there's a student with an IEP who's actually being retained in kindergarten, but it's a special education student. Now, that's what's best for the student. But there is an associate, but it's a one-on-one, so it's not an associate that's for the entire kindergarten class. But I would say you could get another 4 or 5 in each half of the district and you'd still be fine. Well, you'd be more than fine.
Yeah.
You'd be more than fine. I think it's just a reasonable solution right now. If you don't feel like you want to make a decision tonight, it could be a July decision because there are teachers available. It's not like we're looking for high school physics.
Early childhood, there are teachers.
Yes, and what I suggest, if you can find one, and Dr. Feeney and I talked to, I think I talked to you about this, if I'm not saying this out, it was either you or Mr. Fisher, or maybe both, that maybe the advertisement should even say special education, early childhood with special education, because we always end up with some special ed, we're short someplace, and we're long someplace, that you might, if you can find one, maybe you can't, maybe there won't be one, but at least that's the first look as an early childhood special ed with a K, they'll have a K-6 license, early childhood, and then early childhood special ed. That way, if you don't find one with early childhood special ed, just take that off the list and you're looking for an early childhood licensed teacher. To travel, you're still going to offer the same number of hours as they would have had in preschool, even if the teacher has to travel. supplies and materials would be minimum because we have pre-kindergarten, we have preschool programs already, so it's not like we have to have it's not an expensive venture for you to get set up, and I truly think it's what's best for the kids.
You could prepare a recommendation.
Yeah, I don't have to discuss it next month,
Well, yeah, because otherwise, like you said, these poor kids are gonna either,
Well, you can't shove them into kindergarten right away, you're throwing your mission statement out the window. We're not enabling them, we're putting them behind the gun.
and if I was a parent and had one of those 8 children, I'd be ecstatic that you were gonna put my child in a small classroom when they're, already 5, It's just a great opportunity for them to get.
This can only be for 5-year-olds?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
So none of those,
None of the 4-year-olds, none of the pre-kindergarten.
Will this situation exist next year, the year after that, or no, or?
Traditionally, in both districts, we've had 5-year-olds in the 4-year-old program. In another district that I've been in, we had a preschool for 4-year-olds, and we called it optional kindergarten. But an optional kindergarten program, you had to be 5, but you weren't ready for kindergarten, and then we had 2 sections of kindergarten. So it's not uncommon to have optional or pre-kindergarten programs. Then you want to
the
keep
numbers
it.
are there, it's going to be there.
Here's the thing, if you look at those 16 kids and add them to the 26 and add them to the 39, if we had all of those together, we might have 5 teachers for that number of kindergarten kids. And they're 5, so they're generating per pupil cost, and they're in the district half a day, not a whole day.
I like your analogy, Barb, and since the numbers are great, maybe advertising, since we're dealing with special ed, and you and I know all that about, but maybe in dealing with that, you can also put in the advertisement, or willing to get, you know where I'm going with this,
Yep.
certification, because since you're playing with numbers, maybe it's a positive thing. Yeah.
I bet you'll have teachers with apply with special.
You should have. It's going to be your baby, so please do.
I think that just based on coming out of Warburg, we graduated 1 person with special ed and early childhood. And if you're serious about that, which I think is a great thing, I'd encourage you to approve the position tonight so we can get going with it. If you want to come back in July and work the details out, fine, but let's not wait. This is the right thing to do.
Yeah, great.
It is
I
right.
agree.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion second to approve that program as we've been discussing it. Those in favor say aye. Okay, motion carries here.
I would insert, we probably set the ad up so that it didn't eliminate people who didn't have that endorsement. We'd say that would be the preferred endorsement, that we'd also take early childhood.
Is this going to be an in-house ad first or anything?
It'll have to be in-house.
It has to be.
Yep.
Snack board.
I'll move that we also approve that position
Second.
tonight.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carried.